So a lot of companies are trying to work out and make this stuff easier for people to do. And they're all tending to make that kind of, we have the one solution for how you fix the Internet of Things, like, come with us, we'll make it easy for you, and together we can take over the world and make the Internet of Things a reality. One of those companies is Electric Imp. This is the Imp itself. It's kind of an SD card shaped thing, but it's not actually an SD card. And that uses Wi-Fi to get onto the network, and they have the way that you program it with your username and password is that your phone has an app on it if you've got the right kind of phone, which I don't because I've got a really ancient Nokia. And it flashes the screen to send the data across, and there's a light sensor on the Imp. And so that's kind of, it's not too tricky a way to get onto the Wi-Fi. It gets your sort of node up and running. But then it's a completely enclosed system that talks to their servers. And so they have a cloud service, and you go and program it in the cloud, and so you don't have any kind of access to what's inside, how all this system works. You go and write some code in a language called Squirrel in a web browser, and then you kind of deploy it to the Imps. And they take care of sending it over the Wi-Fi to reprogram it, and then they give you access to, like, this is a little dev board for it with some little pinouts that can be, if I remember rightly, digital pins or analog pins to get kind of data in or out to be able to hook it up to different bits of electronics. But you're kind of very much locked into their system. If they go bust, or if they get bought by some big company that decides that they really just want the tech and they don't want to keep maintaining the system, there are kind of issues around that, whether you're going to lock yourself into this kind of closed ecosystem. With a whole, you can't, if you've got these deployed, you're going to have to change all of the kind of the processor and the networking technology, because that's all enclosed inside the little Imp chip. So it's hard to kind of swap out and use something else instead. And the guys who you may have come across, the little printer is the first device that uses VeryCloud. And it's a little receipt printer that you can send messages to over the internet. You can subscribe to publications for it, things like that. The one we have in the office ran out of paper recently because Stuart's been sending and Kevin have been sending too many messages to it of late. And Berg have got now, they've got this system called the VeryCloud, because they have to build an infrastructure for rolling out a little printer. So they've got little dev shields that work, and there's a really nice, kind of neat trick of it'll sit onto an Arduino, or also a Raspberry Pi, depending on which headers you solder onto it. You can kind of just flip the same dev board to the two ways. And that does kind of the communications and sort of device management stuff for you. It runs over Zigbee, but I think is kind of a closed communication system. They're trying to make it as easy as possible for people to get up and running on the Internet of Things, which is great. So you kind of just plug in that box in the top right-hand corner is called the VeryCloud Bridge, and so that plugs into your Ethernet, into the back of your kind of home router, and then it's got the Zigbee module in it, so it can then talk to any number of VeryCloud devices. And there's no kind of pairing between them, they just automatically kind of find each other and start communicating, which also means that the VeryCloud device that's trying to talk to a bridge doesn't care if it's talking to your bridge or your neighbour's bridge or some other bridge you can see halfway down the street or something, because like all of the paths lead back to Berg's VeryCloud servers. So they've made the kind of the configuration side really easy, but they then also set themselves up as the kind of then gatekeepers for all of that, so everything has to run through their servers. And I don't know if that's a good way of doing things with the Internet of Things. Was kind of, I don't know if I want all of my kind of government Internet of Things devices, the reporting stuff back to the government, to be going through Berg servers. It's all completely secure from the device through to their servers, but then they're going to be a kind of man-in-the-middle attack for any data you're sending over. So you're still going to have to secure it if you want them not to be able to see what you're sending. So there are kind of issues around some of the things. So, you know, how's that maybe going to play out and give us kind of the Internet of Things of the future? And I couldn't find Blaine's cool slide of the thousands of Tower of Babel things over the lake, so you just got to put just one picture of it that I found on the internet. And you know, maybe we'll get to a point where there's just little kind of islands of Internet of Things connectivity, and it's not all just one kind of global thing. So it's like, okay, that's cool, I've decided that I like all the Berg stuff the most, so I'm going to have a Berg cloud house, and I'll have a Berg kind of internet fridge, and Berg little printer, and all the different things. But they won't talk very well with my mate, because my mate really likes Apple stuff, and he's gone through the whole Apple kind of iThings port hub that's going to talk to all the different things, or like somebody else going to have the kind of the Google Chrome gateway or something, to kind of, you know, and then people being these little sort of like isolated, you have to pick one vendor and then go with all of it, and it all works really nicely together, but you're then limited in what things you can buy and put in your house. Or like the other option is that Argos and IKEA and, is MFI still going? Don't know. Anyway, all the furniture kind of place will have a new category next to the TV cabinets, or maybe instead of the TV cabinets, you'll have like a home gateway hub cabinet that's just like a big box where you can stick your kind of like VeryCloud bridge and your SmartThings hub and your Apple iThings hub and your current cost Quell device, and just like, you just have a whole box full of, here are all the different things that then plug into an Ethernet hub, that then plug into my kind of connection out to the internet, because I need all these different competing technologies, all have their own little extra thing that we're going to plug stuff into. And so you've probably worked out that I'm not a huge fan of that sorts of things. But I'm not saying that we should have kind of one direction for sort of, you know, going forward. We need to work out one, this is the way that, this is the, you know, the standard that we'll have for all of them. I hope that is one direction, by the way, I didn't check. Just like when I was typing in, I typed in direction for the next slide into Flickr, and it threw me loads of photos of these guys. So I think this is one direction. I hope it is, because otherwise the little joke doesn't really make sense. And so what I think we should do is kind of have, it's not about a kind of this is the answer. It's about choosing a direction that we want to head in. And that's kind of, you know, it's all of us as to how we're going to build the Internet of Things, and what choices we're going to make in how we kind of, which bits we choose, which devices we choose, and what we kind of like and dislike about the different ones to work out how we go forwards. And we should be, you know, acknowledging that if the Internet of Things is going to be as big as the Internet, like there isn't one protocol for the Internet, like at the application layer at least. Yeah, there are many different ones, different bits, and the Internet of Things is going to be the same. There'll be lots of there'll be different networks, and they need to work together. And it needs to be different networks, kind of, in all of the parts of the Internet of Things, not just kind of like at the top, because all of these services have web APIs where it's like, yeah, you can hook it up to Twitter, or if this and that, or Gmail, or all of the different things that you might want to talk about on the internet, because they know that the internet is loads of different services. And so they're all very kind of happy to be like, yes, we're open, we talk all of the web APIs. But then some of them are very kind of like, oh, you mean at the device end? No, sorry, that's closed, that's just ours. We've picked the right way of doing that. Everyone has to do it our way. And I don't think that's going to work. You know, Berg should be working towards getting the little printer to work with the SmartThings hub, because it's got Zigbee in it, and they should be able to kind of interact. And I don't know if they do at the moment, but that's, you know, something to move towards. And it's not about, you know, we can't go anywhere until we've gone to them. We can kind of, you know, build stuff now that works, and you need a bridge at the moment. But if it's like, okay, well, there's a VeryCloud bridge at the minute, but we'll work out ways to get it to talk to different ones as the other ones come on board. And are available for us to talk to as the ecosystem evolves. So I think we should take some kind of inspiration from the web and from the internet in how we kind of, move things forwards. So I think one of the things we should do is just put, bet on the internet IP protocol getting everywhere. Like, it's been a good bet for the last kind of 30 years or something, and I don't see any reason why it should change. So expect to get IP packets to your actual sensor. And if there are certain cases where you can't do that because your sensor networks are running on kind of physical protocols that don't quite do it, then work with the standards bodies and groups, find other people to work with. So things like Slowpan, which is working out how to put IPv6 into the Zigbee kind of network format. And basically you end up with a new, evolved version of IP that can run on everything still, but now can also cope with your kind of sensor networks. You don't want lots of little gateways at the edge kind of going, oh yes, well we kind of do IP to this point, and then you need to do something different to get the inter bit in internet is about internetworking. It's about crossing the different networks. It's not get to this point and then switch to a different system. And go with small pieces loosely joined. So pick, chunks of functionality that make sense and that hang together, and then interoperate with other things so that you can plug in different things in different places. So it's not just about having kind of the web API arrive at your kind of electric imp servers, and then it's just some weird thing that nobody understands from there on. It's like you have, this goes all the way down to the devices, so you can swap in different devices, and I can get just a general Zigbee device and then hook it up through my VeryCloud infrastructure to get it to talk stuff on the web. The internet is lots of little servers doing different things and all working together, and it's not perfect and seamless, but that's how it works and continues to function and copes with bits breaking and things like that. And we need that in the Internet of Things. And it sounds a bit like I'm sort of suggesting we need to work out ways that we can kind of come up with one way forwards that we can all agree on, and so we should go and have lots of meetings and stuff and things like that. And that's as big a problem as running off and implementing stuff that doesn't quite play nicely. So I'm not talking about going and building one true standard for the Internet of Things. I think that's kind of important to repeat it. I'm not talking about building one true standard for the Internet of Things. There's loads of people. It seems to be either there are companies building like, this is our one solution, because we've got stuff that's running now and shipped, and like you can play with it today, which is awesome, and really hard, but it needs to kind of play nicely with others. And there's a whole other group of people who are kind of going, no, we need to work out the one solution. There'll be one protocol that will work across like kind of your smart pill bottle and your bubble machine talking to Twitter and everything else, and we all just need to sit in a room, have enough conferences, give enough talks, and we'll come up with one great, amazing kind of protocol, and then we can go off and build it. That's not going to happen. It's not going to work. It's a waste of time. We need to do things, like the internet was, where you build stuff, where you come together in groups to solve specific problems. Like, we've got most of the protocols we need to build the Internet of Things already here. It's called the internet. Choose ones from the internet that do what you want them to do, use those. If they don't quite work perfectly, work out ways to make them work better. Find the other people who've got the same problem that you have, and come up with a new, evolved solution. The guys who built OAuth didn't go, we're going to build a new protocol for the web. They're like, no, we've seen this problem, we're having to share our password with loads of other websites that want to talk to our services. How about we build a way to do authentication that's spread across, without you having to share your passwords? And they went off and they worked out how to do it, and they kind of built it, and there was a bit of iterations and stuff, and then came up with a standard. A new standard, but not one that replaces all of the existing ones on the web. It just solves a new bit. When we got RSS, that wasn't a new standard to replace the rest of the internet. That was like, how do we get bits of data when get notified when stuff has changed, little chunks of content. And so some guys went off and built that, and then there was a bit of, kerfuffle, and some other guys went off and built Atom. And so we ended up with two standards that do very similar things. But, that's two standards, that's not, we can cope with that kind of, those sorts of choices. Don't go off and build one big thing to work over all of the possible applications. The Internet of Things crosses too many different kind of areas of our lives for there to be one way of solving all the problems. So, just to kind of recap on all of that kind of stuff that I've thrown at you, and hopefully some of it went in or made sense, or both. Basically, just playing nicely, being open. Internet of Things can be really awesome, but only if we get lots of different systems that can talk to each other. We don't want lots of little kind of niches that don't interact. And there are challenges that we're going to have to kind of face and solve, and problems that we'll hit. But start working on them, and we'll work out what the real problems are when we hit them, and then work out the answers to them. Don't try to preempt all of the problems, because the ones you preempt won't be the ones you'll actually run into. And finally, hopefully I haven't put you off and made it all sound really complicated and hard. It's not. Buy my book, I'll tell you exactly how it's really easy. But yeah, just make more things, just more stuff connected to the internet. It'll be awesome, and then we can all just have loads of cool more toys and gadgets and things. It'll be great. So, thank you very much.